Summer is right around the corner, and chances are, if you're watching this video right now, you may have a Disney World summer vacation plan that is coming up very quickly. So, very different compared to the rest of the year. Crowd levels are different, the weather is different, park hours are different. And so, for that reason, I wanted to come on here today to share with you 8 things that you should definitely know before going on your Disney World summer vacation to help set your trip up for success. So, I've got 8 tips here that I want to share with you, and we're going to go ahead and jump right on into them. So, the first tip that I have for you here today is to make reservations. I talk about this all the time on my channel. And the reason why you want to make reservations, there's 2 reservations you want to make. You want to make theme park reservations and dining reservations. The first reservation, theme park reservations, are very important because right now at Disney World, you have to have a theme park reservation in order to get into the park that you are planning on visiting. So if you're planning on visiting Magic Kingdom, you have to have a theme park reservation for Magic Kingdom in order to visit that park. And the thing about the summertime or peak seasons at Disney World is that these theme park reservations go very quickly and they can actually book up. So the last thing you would want to have happen is to actually get to Disney World, find out that you don't have any reservations made, and then figure out that you can't actually get into the park because all of the reservations are gone. So what I recommend is, if you know when you are planning on visiting Disney World, what time or what parks you are wanting to go to, definitely make those theme park reservations as soon as possible. I've already checked some of the theme park reservation calendars, and some of the reservations for parks during the summer are already starting to book up. So definitely get those reservations made as soon as possible. As I mentioned as well, another reservation that you want to make are dining reservations. So there are very popular restaurants at Disney World that have restaurants. And these reservations also go very quickly. There's Oga's Cantina, the Be Our Guest restaurant, very popular dining reservations in restaurants that you may want to eat at whenever you are on your vacation at Disney World. And one thing that you will want to do is to try to get a reservation for that restaurant so that way you can guarantee your spot to eat there. So what I recommend is, if you know where you are going to be at during your visit to Disney World, or if you know where you want to eat at, definitely try to secure a reservation as soon as possible so that way you know you can actually eat there. Another thing that I recommend is always making reservations also during peak times such as summertime, because then I can guarantee you a spot to eat somewhere at Disney World, because I do recommend being hangry at Disney World is no joke. That's not something that you want to do. So having reservations can guarantee you a spot to eat whenever you're at the parks or whenever you may be visiting Disney Springs or someplace on Disney property. The second tip that I have for you is to prepare for weather. So as I mentioned, weather during the summertime at Disney World is different compared to the rest of the year. You have extremely warm days at Disney World, or you could have extremely rainy days. Thunderstorms are no joke at Disney World during the summertime. And so what I recommend is always preparing for the weather. You never know when a shower may pop up or when it may be extremely hot. So always have some sunscreen on hand. I recommend bringing some rain gear, whether it's a rain poncho or a rain jacket or an umbrella. Always have some type of rain gear on you. And definitely have sunscreen. As I mentioned, you don't want to get burnt, especially your first day on your trip. The last thing you would want is to get extremely burnt and then be miserable the rest of your vacation. So I like to look at the weather before I'm actually going to the parks, or a couple of days out before going to the parks, to get an idea of what the weather is actually looking like. So that way you can plan out your outfits and any gear that you may need to take with you whenever you are actually visiting the parks. So definitely keep an eye on the weather, prepare for that. I do have a link in the description to an Amazon idea list that has a lot of essentials that you can consider taking with you to Disney World when it comes to preparing for weather. Another thing that you'll want to bring with you are maybe some cooling towels or a personal fan, so that way you can keep cool whenever you're at the parks, because it can get very hot. You can get heat exhaustion, and definitely try to find ways to stay cool whenever you're visiting during the summertime, because it can get very warm and very rainy. The third tip that I have for you is to look at park hours. So the interesting thing about during the summertime at Disney World is theme park hours are different here. So the thing that is nice though is that the park hours are usually extended a lot longer than they are usually during the regular times of the year at Disney World. So when you are looking at the park hours, decide if you're wanting to stay the whole time at Disney World. So usually the parks will open around 8 or and then I saw at some days during the month of June here, Magic Kingdom is actually open till 11 p.m. So that is a very long day that you may have whenever visiting Disney World. So decide to go for rope drop? Do you want to stay until the park actually closes? Try to figure out what you want to do whenever visiting the parks, because that'll give you a good idea of if you are wanting to stay the entire time. Sometimes what people will do is they'll actually go for rope drop and then go back to their resort or their hotel at the middle of the day to take a break. Because it can be very tiring going to Disney World for an entire day. So you may want to go for a break back to your hotel, come back recharged for the rest of the evening. So the theme park hours for the days that you are visiting the parks and figure out if you are wanting to stay the whole day or not. The fourth thing that you may want to take advantage of is rope drop or early entry. So essentially rope drop, if you're not familiar with that term, rope drop is getting to the Disney World parks right when they open. So what I recommend with doing rope drop, if you are planning on going to Disney World and trying to get as many attractions done as possible, definitely take advantage of rope drop. And the early entry is for Disney World resort guests. So Disney resort guests can actually get into the parks 30 minutes earlier than normal or regular. Definitely be something that to your advantage if you are hoping to do a lot of attractions at Disney World, because doing this early entry or rope drop can ensure that you get into very popular attractions that may have lower wait times compared to the rest of the day when the parks are a lot busier compared to the mornings. So I do recommend going and taking advantage of rope drop or early entry so that way you can get some of the more popular attractions done at the beginning of the day. And then if you are wanting to ride them again later on in the day, you can of course ride in the evening when people may be going back to their hotels or their resorts, or you can ride them. Is a very popular time that people are watching the fireworks, and wait times definitely go down during that time of day. So definitely take advantage of rope drop or early entry if you are wanting to do attractions or trying to get into the parks when they aren't as busy. The fifth thing that I have to say to you here is if you are wanting to do a lot of rides when it comes to going to Disney World, is to take advantage of some of the less popular attractions. So during the summer months, wait times are going to be a lot longer than usual because the parks are a lot busier than usual. And so what I do recommend if you are going during the summertime, it can get very tiring and discouraging at times waiting in long lines. And sometimes what I like to do is I like to take advantage of quick wins rides. That's what I call them. And those are typically rides that or attractions that are less popular and usually have lower wait times compared to some of the more popular attractions. So when you are, say, waiting in Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or Peter Pan, it's very common for those rides to have about an hour long wait time, and that can get very tiring waiting in lines the whole day, especially if you're visiting with your family and you have kids. They may not want to wait in lines the whole day. So what I like to do is I like to space out the popular attractions with less popular attractions in the middle, so that way it doesn't look like I'm waiting in long lines all day. So you can go online and figure out what some of the less popular attractions are at Disney World, or you can just go on the My Disney Experience app and look at the wait times to see what some of the less popular attractions are and lower wait times, so that way it doesn't feel like you're waiting in lines the entire day. The sixth thing that I do recommend, and is probably one of the most important things besides actually having reservations for the park, is to bring comfortable clothing and shoes. So packing for Disney World, besides planning, packing is one of the most important things to consider as well when going on a Disney vacation. I always like to bring clothes that I know are comfortable, that are breathable, because it's going to be very rainy and hot during the summertime. I like wearing some very cool clothing so that way I'm not very hot when walking around the parks. And then I also like making sure that the shoes that I'm wearing are very comfortable and that I know they are comfortable, because that is a very important thing when going to Disney World. So when you are packing and considering what you want to bring to Disney World, definitely make sure that the clothing and the shoes that you're bringing are comfortable and will help you to go about your day the whole day when you're at Disney World. The seventh thing that I want to say is to plan breaks. So, as I mentioned earlier, it can get very exhausting and very tiring being at Disney World the whole day. Even though you're at the most magical place on earth, the heat can get to you, the rain can get to you, the crowds can get to you. If you're traveling with your family, you'll definitely want to plan breaks throughout your day. That can either be a dining reservation that you may have, an AC break where you're just sitting down, getting cooled off, and recharging a little bit. Or what you can actually do, depending on the length of your stay when you're going to Disney World, is you could actually maybe plan break days in between your park days. So you may be very tired going to the parks, and then the day afterwards, you could have a relaxing pool day, go to Disney Springs, do some resort hopping. Definitely plan out some breaks within your day so that way you can get recharged and don't feel super exhausted whenever you're visiting Disney World. And the eighth and final thing that I want to recommend to you is to make sure that you are drinking water and make sure that you bring snacks with you when you are visiting the parks. Of course, you can purchase snacks and drinks when you are at Disney World, but if you want to save some money and make sure that you have items on hand, definitely pack some water and some snacks with you. They have water fountains all throughout the park that you can stay hydrated with the entire day. I love bringing my own water bottle so that way I have water with me at all times because it does get very warm. And you can also go to quick service restaurants and ask for a glass of ice water if that's something that you want. I like doing that because then it's a very nice, refreshing drink that I can have whenever I am at the parks. And I also like bringing my own snacks because I like having things on hand so that way I don't get hangry and I can stay recharged throughout my day. So these are all things that I like to consider whenever visiting Disney World during the summertime. It is very different compared to the rest of the year, but as long as you plan ahead of time, it definitely will help to ensure that you can have a successful trip. So that way you are the most prepared and that way you can make the most of your time whenever you are actually at Disney World. So if you have any other questions, feel free to put them in the comment section below. I hope you guys have an awesome trip to Disney World this summer and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you guys.